Osgood Perkins, off the heels of Long Legs from last year, is back as writer-director of The Monkey, based on Stephen King's short story in Skeleton Crew. In preparation for this movie, I watched Monkey Shines, directed by George A. Romero, and which has absolutely nothing to do with the story or this movie, except for the cover picture. The Monkey is a horror comedy, or at least what tries to be a horror comedy. Unfortunately, it misses the mark on both counts. It's too silly to be scary, but too self serious to land as a dark comedy. So, what are we left with? Is this yet another Stephen King adaptation circling the drain?
The coroner said it was an accident, but it was no accident. It was a monkey.
One of the biggest issues with The Monkey is that it never fully commits to anything. The tone is light, almost goofy at times, but then it throws in some genuine attempts at horror that just don't land. The movie treats death with such a casual, almost cartoonish attitude, which is part of its thing, but by the time it tries to scare you, you just don't care. It's hard to feel any real tension when the film itself can't decide if it wants you to laugh or scream. There's very little substance to hold on to here, in terms of story. The film follows Hal, played by Theo James, who also takes on the role of his twin brother in what's supposed to be a dramatic dual performance. But in reality, it's just him in a mullet wig, acting like a lunatic. Theo James is alright, there's nothing wrong with his acting, but he feels overstretched here. The movie tries to land some heartfelt moments, particularly between Hal and his estranged son, but it doesn't work. The characters are so over the top that any attempt at reconciliation feels forced. And just when you think they might stick the landing, the moment is undercut by an obvious, predictable joke. You see it coming from a mile away, and not in a good way. The Monkey leans heavily into shock value. Think Army of Darkness. There are bodies exploding into mist, guts flying everywhere. The first time it happens, sure, it's a little shocking, maybe even funny in a twisted way. But then it happens again, and again, and again. By the end, it's so overdone that it just becomes boring, something you never want in a movie like this. The humor is another weak point. The film has a very juvenile tone, the kind that might get some laughs from high schoolers. And hey, if I were that age, maybe I'd have laughed too. But as it stands, the jokes feel one note and repetitive. The biggest running gag? People saying, that sucks, in response to extreme or inappropriate situations. It happens about 5 times, and trust me, it sucks every time. For a movie called The Monkey, you'd expect, well, the monkey to be a terrifying presence. But no, it never feels like an object of dread. It's just a plot device, something that mechanically drives the story forward without ever being truly menacing. It's nothing like The Notebook and Death Note with its tightly crafted rules and pitfalls, or as ironically insubordinate as The Monkey's Paw.
How do you know that?
Because he sent us a helping hand from beyond the grave.
Instead of an intelligent, calculated death mechanism, it's random and senseless, much like the characters surrounding it. And while it's similar in the story, it's played up for a joke toward the end of the movie, and just neuters any potential dread this thing might have had. And the design of the monkey was also changed from the iconic cymbal clashing primate to a drummer with spinning drumsticks. I prefer the original Stephen King version. One of the film's biggest missteps is how it handles its themes. It shifts focus from Hal's relationship from his overbearing twin brother, devoting a full 40 minutes to that aspect, and then hops over to the father-son dynamic in a very cliched setup that a lot of Hollywood stories seem to have. The estranged father who's gotten divorced and has totally lost touch with their kid. So the father-son dynamic is set up about halfway through, but then the film completely shifts focus back to Hal's relationship with his estranged twin brother. And yet that storyline doesn't feel satisfying either. By the end, it's like the movie forgot what it was supposed to be about in the first place. And speaking of the twin brother, he's an obnoxious bully from start to finish. Supposedly funny, but in reality just grating. There's no real depth to him, and that's a problem when the movie hinges so much on their dynamic. Now, credit where credit's due, the monkey at least looks good. The cinematography is solid, the effects are well executed, even if they're overused, and the acting is mostly fine. It's clear that effort went into the production. The problem isn't how the film looks, it's the story and tone that feel cheap. And for fans of Stephen King's short story, this is a massive departure. The movie takes the basic premise but stretches it into something unrecognizable. That's not always a bad thing necessarily, but in this case, The changes don't add anything worthwhile. At the end of the day, the monkey never finds its footing. It reminds me of that classic Voltaire quote about the Holy Roman Empire. It was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. Well, the monkey is neither a horror, nor a credible comedy, nor an entertaining movie. It's a confused mess that tries to do too much and fails at almost everything. Final score? 3 out of 10. I really bounced off this one. I didn't have any fun with it, and to be honest, almost fell asleep in the theater. If you're looking for a good horror comedy, go watch Army of Darkness or Tucker and Dale versus Evil instead. This one, skip it. Oh, and incidentally, Monkey Shines isn't too bad. The monkey's super cute. Well, that's all I've got for now. If you've seen The Monkey, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree? Disagree? And don't forget to like and subscribe for more reviews. As always, thanks for watching.